children, grandchildren. He's good. Okay, so good to see everybody. It's been a tough week. I mean, I'm sure has had many tough months, but it's the first time that we all meeting together since the terrible news of Daniel Perez's murder, passing. And we davened every day, right? Especially for the first 60 days when we were doing all the Tehillim together, and we said his name, especially before we said the tefillah for the Nedarim and the Chatzufim, and then it turned out, with this new intelligence, they found out that he was actually killed on October 7th, and it's heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking on many levels. Firstly, this beautiful boy from this beautiful family is gone, and then to think on the level of these months of hope, and I think the Perezs were uniquely connected to the diaspora community of Jewry, different to other families. And obviously my close connection with the Perezs, going back to I said to someone that the reason I met my wife was because of HaRav Perez. So he came to me when I was 21, hit me on the back and said to me, "What are you doing with your life?" I was just about to start. I think it was was I studying already? I was studying a little bit, but. I think I was about to be Rosh Machaneh over there, whatever. But he had this plan to send us all to Israel to do long-term leadership, and we had a few breakfasts and coffees, and then he said, "Okay, I'm sending you to Israel for for a few years. Go for 4 years, come back for 4 years, and do like a proper shlichut." And for that reason, I came back to Israel, and I was here for 3 months. I went back and did Machaneh, but then I went back again after I did vernacular camp. And that was the beginning of the rest of my life. That's when I met Sarah, and learned in Israel for a few more years, and then went on shlichut. Had a big debate whether to go to the King David schools, the Yeshiva College schools, on behalf of Mizrahi. And ultimately, I chose to go to Yeshiva College and be the Menahel the boys' high school under Rabbi Perez for 2 years. And then when he made Aliyah, then I became the managing director, sort of trying to fill his massively big and amazing shoes. And that was so that carried on for another 5.5 years. And then obviously we kept in touch. And then very sad. So I remembered. I remember Daniel. I wasn't very close to Daniel. I was very close to his older brother Jonathan. Daniel was younger, and I think in our first year he was in grade 6, and then he was in grade 7 in our second year. And then they came back to Israel. But the reason was because he was so cool. He was like way too cool literally too cool for school. Very cool, like amazing kid. Had very little reverence for the fact that his father was, the rabbi managing director of the school, and he did things. If you hear the way that his father talks about him, and his siblings and his mom, he did things the way he wanted to do things, and you couldn't shake him from it. He was very, very, very determined. And I thought I'd show you something. I sent it to Rabbi Perez this morning. Let's show this video. Let me just see if it loads up. Yeah, 1 second. So I started trying to find as much like memories. Is there a picture where I'm with Daniel? Let me see if I can find pictures of Daniel. I used to go a lot around the school. I mean, it's no surprise. You all know me well now, but I used to go around the school a lot and taking pictures, and then I'd do a newsletter at the end of the week. I'd write a letter and integrate all the pictures of different events. All the pictures I really found of Daniel and videos were very much around the different tours that we did, and then Rosh Chodesh Adar. The only picture I found of me and Daniel in the same picture is when the kids threw me into the swimming pool fully clothed, and Daniel was laughing as they're pulling me in. So there's that. But I want to show you this video. I'm gonna just see how I can get it to work. 1 second. Can you hear the sound when I play this? I'm not casting anything yet. Let's see. Okay, so this is. Screen. Okay, so you can see the screen now. You can see it's all blurred, right? So this is a video that I found on my phone, and it was from Rosh Chodesh Adar, exactly 10 years ago. I think it's the 4th of March, 4th of March, 2014. So here we took the kids to the ice rink. That's Daniel. So all these kids falling all over the place. If you see how Daniel skates, it's like quite unreal. You'll see him coming around the side over here again. There he is. He's coming, zooming around now, flying, like gliding. And then I'm trying to call out to him because he's so into it. I'm like, finally, we found something that he's happy to do. He was like, all the programming was always felt never good enough. So then he looks back for a second and then he just carries on flying. But it was like amazing nachas that he was finally doing something that he, we finally made something that he was like plugged in and did. There. So listen to this kid. The kids are like all in awe. Perez is coming through. There he is again. I'll skip over here. Yeah, it's the last time. And then somehow I got him to pose for this picture. Somehow. It was like near impossible to do. It was like finally for a moment we had given him something that was in his element. And you can see he's like, it was very cool. He always had perfect hair. Just a sweet, gorgeous, good-looking, amazing kid. But he did things on his own terms. So I don't know how. Somehow I snapped this picture of him. And just really, very sad. So that's that. I'll show you other pictures another time. But the idea I wanted to share, connected to the skating particularly, is Rabbi Perez has been talking a lot about how Daniel, was this like difficult kid, and he was always had to have his way, and he would only do things on his terms. He spoke about this idea at the funeral. He spoke about it yesterday again. Rabbi Perez brought on this consultant, Rabbi Karmi Gross, onto to Yeshiva College a few years before I arrived, and he was like for Torah learning, and he built his whole curriculum all around Shorashim, like the roots of words. And he would, to make it exciting, there was an annual quiz as well. Rabbi Gross would come and do the quiz. So Rabbi Perez really wanted Daniel to learn for the quiz. They learned, and he drove him crazy, and they worked as hard as they could together for 2 months, came to the quiz, and Daniel came second. And it was like they couldn't have worked harder. The next year, Perez didn't even think about it. I think he was away for the weekend or something, and he gets a call from the school, from the head of the Yeshiva College, the Malka Bender, and from Rabbi Gross. Daniel won the quiz. He said, "What? What? He won the quiz?" I think he had mentioned to him before, like maybe 5 days before, he thinks he's going to study for the quiz. He's like, "You're doing it for 5 days." The kid did in 5 days. He just decided to do it. Very, very difficult. And he was saying yesterday with Rabbi Gross, that was there at the Shiva yesterday, like they tried to do it that he wouldn't win because he's the managing director's son. My mother's sitting on, she knows it was complicated for me to, and I got the English prize, and she was the head of English. So for Daniel to win, it was like a little bit difficult and complicated. So he really tried to do things to sort of like make it more difficult for Daniel to succeed, and Daniel won. and there was like this just level of determination and just amazing commitment to doing what he wanted to do, and he did it supremely. And then he spoke about how, in general, Daniel, just did what he wanted to do, when he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, and he was like a difficult kid. When he came to Israel, they were like really worried about how he would integrate into society and Israel and that, and they started finding his way, but still was obsessed with Fortnite and all these things. Perez talks about Fortnite all the time. His line is, if you know what Fortnite is, my condolences. If you don't know what it is, Ashrecha. That's his big line about Fortnite. But Daniel was, playing with all his friends through all hours of the morning. He used to take it very seriously, and he talks about how, he'd be like commanding them and telling them where to go and how to do it. And it's like an online game where you've got to take out each other. Everybody's in this world and you've all got to shoot, and you can build teams and things like that. So Daniel was like supreme, and then that was like what he would talk about. And then a few weeks ago, I was sitting with Rabbi Perez. I don't know if I shared a picture I went. So I was sitting with him at their house when Daniel was considered chatuf, and he showed me, he had just got from the army. They'd done this investigation. Naftali Bennett's spoken about it since, and that they got this image of the satellite imagery of where Daniel's final battle took place, and you see the tank tracks, right? So they've got like there's like a bigger map that shows his whole route. What he did that morning for 2 hours of intense fighting. He was based in Menahel, Oz, right facing the border, and took the tank out at like 7 o'clock, and then started like a crazy battle. He could have stayed in his natural position, which was like a covered position, but he came out of cover, and he went into one of the yeshuvas, went across one of the yeshuvas. He went with a namer into a few places and took out terrorists. But then ultimately, when sort of like the end was coming, he realized that they're flooding the border. So he went and he blocked like the artery of the main road that led towards Kibbutz Saad, and then Kfar Aza, and then Nachal Oz, obviously the town. And when Rabbi Perez explained it to me, I just saw these. He showed you the tracks. I just saw these figure eights. He was just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and just shooting and driving over, and tanks built for long distance shooting, and then the soldiers are in front of the tanks and do that. He used this tank for long distance, for short distance, as to trample these terrorists, and took out tens and tens and tens of terrorists in this heroic fight that ultimately ended with he bled to death. He gave up his last blood. And if you see the videos of Rabbi Perez, it's what he talks about. And the only thing where they found the blood on his uniform, his shirt was in the tank, not without a scratch. There was blood on the shoulders. They cleaned the blood of the dargot, but that's what they buried. They buried his uniform. They buried his uniform that was soaked in blood. And that's why Rabbi Perez spoke a lot about this idea of blood, and like a Brit Damim and Brit Milah, and the connection between Yayin and Dam and blood. And he spoke a lot about it. And Rabbi Perez had told me, previously, even before October 7th, like how Daniel had found his place in the army, and from being this like Fortnite kid and wakeboarding and all over the place kind of kid. The army he had suddenly like switched on in this way, in a way, like if you think about like how he was doing that skating, right? Like he was switched on, he was perfectly into it, and he found his flow and he found himself. And Rabbi Perez said, many ways, you talk about like the clothes make a man, like this uniform made Daniel, and it took all his kochot. And I found this video. I had no recollection of this video at all, but thankfully Google, I put in Daniel's picture, I downloaded it, I put it into Google Photos, and then it did like a search of all the other photos. So Daniel's video didn't come up, but I saw this picture that I'd taken of him, and I said, oh, maybe there's a video, because obviously the videos are harder to track for Google. So I found this video, and then the thing that came to my mind straight away was the figure eights, right? Like the figure eights that he's skating, the Fortnite that he's playing, and and doing all these crazy maneuvers and battles and leading teams and succeeding, and then the figure eights that he did with his tank to save save Am Yisrael, right? To save all these other beautiful, gorgeous children. It's
I
like
know.
yeah. What do you
You're right.
say, David?
The figure eight might be also relevant because Yom Shmini
Yeah.
is is that what Rabbi Perez spoke about?
He didn't, but it's it was going through my head a lot in that he sort of like achieved this this infinite status. Thanks for reminding me, David. That he achieved this infinite status through doing this figure eight, right, of Shmini. So the figure eight on its side is a symbol of infinity, right? That's the eight is beyond. I just saw Micha Goodman actually came out with this book called Yom HaShmini, where where he talks about the day after October 7th, like how we're going to build our society when this war is over. But Yom HaShmini we know, and I was thinking about this at the funeral. It hit me when Perez was talking about dam and damim, and so I thought this is what I used to love to do with Rabbi Perez when we were in Shul in South Africa. I would sit in the front row, and then he was sitting on like the top, and I would be learning like in between Kriyat Torah and Shachrit a little bit, if I had a moment. And I'd find a nice chiddush and I'd come tell him, and he would love it. And then he would use it for his drosha like a lot, and often he'd use it, or he'd like bring it into something else that he had thought of. And that was like my biggest joy, was I was able to like give him these vorts, and then he would use them for his drashot. It was like it was amazing to be to be his right hand for many years, and like, tremendous energy and leadership. So there I was sitting, standing in the crowds, and there he is, bearing his beautiful son. And I was like, he's talking about these damim, and I thought, what about? But I thought about Parshat Shmini of Vayidom Aaron, that Aaron goes silent, right? And what happens to Aaron? This thing that was bothering me about Perez, I was like, he's given his whole life to the Jewish people, in living. Why must he now give his children, give his child in death? Right, like it's like one thing. Obviously, it's there's no the pain is untold, so everybody loses someone. But here you've had someone who's actually dedicated their living life to the Jewish people. You have families who are living normal lives, and then this terrible tragedy happens to them. Their child, is taken like this. Al Kiddush Hashem. But yeah, Rabbi is someone who lives his life Al Kiddush Hashem every day, and then has to give the sacrifice. And then I thought of this damim he's talking about, Vayidom Aaron, and Aaron HaKohen was the exact same type of person, right? He completely lived his life for the people, and if there's any leader that talks about peace and achdut and shalom and leads in a way of achdut, it's Rabbi Perez. He will go to the ends of the earth to acknowledge every person who said half a sentence that that came to do something in some sort of event that he did. And sometimes his books, the acknowledgements are longer than the book, like the way he's sensitive to those things. He's always like got achdut and unity on his mind, even when he's in the midst of like very, very deep politics, within communities and leadership and things like that. And then there's the tipus of Aaron HaKohen, who's a leader who leads through peace and with peace, and Rabbi Perez, who's a uniter. Like I think the biggest achievement that Rabbi Perez has done, not just rejuvenating World Mizrahi, has been that he looked at all the different organizations in the Dati Leumi world and beyond, who were all doing similar things, and he worked so hard to bring them all under one umbrella, to say, okay, let's create a banner of shlichut. So there's this organization is doing shlichut, this organization is doing shlichut, this, and he created them all together and garnered all the powers together so that they could all be effective with one another. He's an amazing unifier. And Aaron HaKohen, we know that all of Am Yisrael cried when he died, compared to Moshe, right? It said that they all cried because he would go to the ends of the earth to make peace for everybody, and he would tell those white lies to bring husbands and wives back together and friends back together and things like that. And sadly, Rabbi Perez now makes a similar sacrifice, right? It says Bekrovai Ekadesh, with the closest ones, I will sanctify. That's what Parshat Shmini talks about. And Parshat Shmini is this. It's this figure eight. It's this figure eight. So exactly, David. Thanks for reminding me. And then it's Parshat Vayikra, it's Zachor. for me personally, it was eerie, not just on the personal connection, but it was my Hebrew birthday was on it's Tet Adar Bet, and Daniel was buried on Chet Adar Bet. So we, so it was like my last day in this world of my 39 years. I was listening to my, probably if someone who's been, one of the most influential non-family members in my life, to listen to him talking HaRav Herzl with the chief rabbi of Israel there, and thank God redeemed the chief rabbinate of Israel through the words that he's shared. And seeing my student Jonathan standing there as like beautiful, proud, amazing chayal, talking about his brother and talking about his gvurah, and then after that I went into dusk into my 41st year, but that's how I ended my 40th year, was like standing over there. So it's actually my Barmi Parshat this week, which is rare. It's Vayikra was the same. That was my Parsha. And Vayikra's got these powerful words that the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Lau, referenced, of this Adam ki akriv mikem korban Hashem min habehema. That's always been the Dvar Torah that I've connected to the most with this parsha, is that what are the korbanot when we're now talking about all the korbanot? When you think about the korbanot of Am Yisrael, there have been too many of our children. It says Adam ki akriv b'korbanot nedavar. It's kshe akriv, so it's not an obligatory sacrifice. It's kshe akriv. So it's talking about korbanot nedavar. All these korbanot are talking about voluntary sacrifices, and then here Rashi talks about Adam being like, it's talking about Adam because it wasn't stolen, but really you read it here, it's Adam ki akriv mikem. If you read just these words, it's like, what's the ultimate korban that Hashem wants from us? Is to give of ourselves. Ki akriv mikem. He doesn't care. He's not hungry. He doesn't need food. But we give of ourselves. The korbanot come from the word of karov, to become closer to Hashem. So it's Adam ki akriv mikem. You have to give it from yourselves. If the korban doesn't have an element of sacrifice from yourself, then it's not worth it. And then I think it's the beginning of Perek Bet. This for me is like the key part that opens up all of Vayikra, is v'nefesh ki takriv korban mincha Hashem. So before we see like the Adam being makriv, and I think there's ish korban, but this is the only korban which talks about the nefesh ki takriv, that the soul gives it. Right, so here Rashi says, "Lo ne'emar nefesh b'chol korbanot nedavar ela b'mincha." The only one is the korban mincha, where the person giving it is called by the Torah as nefesh. So why is that? Midar kol itnadev mincha. Who's the one that brings a mincha, meal offering? Ani. Right, it's the cheapest offering. It's the simplest offering. It's like fine flour. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu ma'aleh ani alav ki'ilu ikriv nafsho. What is meal offering? What is this poor person going to be doing with this meal? If they don't give it to the Beit HaMikdash, they're going to be eating it for breakfast, like semolina, right? They're going to make like oats for. They're going to have like this. They're going to eat it. It's their breakfast. When before you go about Adam ki akriv mikem korban min habehema min habakar, and it's these people who've got resources, they've got wealth, and they've got 5 cows in their backyard, or 500. So they'll give 1 cow as the korban. And the challenge is, how can you be ki akriv mikem? How can you make that sacrifice come from you? Because it's just one of the other cows. Like maybe they're showing off by giving a big sacrifice. When it comes to the ani, he's got his breakfast that he's either going to eat today or tomorrow, or he's going to give it to the Beit HaMikdash and give it to Hashem as a korban. So because of that, there's no doubt. Right? The person giving the cow could also have the best of intentions, but he could also not. Whereas when it comes to the person giving the mincha, the poor person, he has no place. There's no gap between his intention and between his giving. So it says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu ma'aleh ani alav ki'ilu ikriv nafsho. When the poor person comes and gives of his breakfast, there's no doubt that he's giving it from a true place and he's sacrificing from himself. And therefore, ma'aleh ani alav ki'ilu ikriv nafsho. I treat it as if I regard it as if he's sacrificed his very soul. So that's why it's called nefesh over here. And Daniel, it's I think I'm like holding back tears, but I'm constantly pulled between this world of gvurah, this like amazing child who turned into this amazing gibor, and then just this poor family that's lost their beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous child who wasn't defined by the army. He was able to find definition and heroism in the army, but that wasn't the only him. Right? There was a brother and a son and a future father, future community leader, like and that's the nefesh ki takriv, right? It's like what more can you give? Might be the last painful korban that goes up to Shemayim.
Yeah. Amen.
מעניין בשורות טובות. Daniel Shimon ben HaRav Doron Eliezer ושרון פרס. לעילוי נשמתו.
Somehow.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeshka.
Okay. Anybody want to share anything? I know you want to share any reflections, any thoughts? Feel free. As well say some Tehillim and we'll carry on.
I don't know.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Okay, let's do Shul Malot. Shul Malot Sana Arimanya Ezri. Ezri Meimad Donas Shemai Baretz. אני אתן למות רגליך לענום שומריך. הנה אלוהינו ולא ישן שומרי שואל. אדוני שומריך נציך ליד ימיניך. יומם השמש דרכך וירח בלילה. אדוני שמוך בקור האש שמות נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. Who have we got names of any soldiers that are there? Holly, you got soldiers? Shetach?
Yes, Ariel Eitan ben Henya Shendal, the Feivel Dov ben Hedi Leah.
Amen. Avi, got some Turiels, Platskis, clans?
Clans, got Yeshai Yosef ben Yudit Liva and Aviel Tur ben Yudit.
Aviel's in Daniel's year at school. Yeah.
All right.
So he should be safe. Yeah. So seeing pictures of all these kids 10 years ago. At Gavi Rod's wedding on last week, Monday. And I think I'm going to show you one last picture. Let me see if I can find it. It's worth it.
I'll give you my grandson's name, Daniel.
Please.
Daniel ben Riva Zissel. I don't know what his status is. I think he's finished with the army, but
okay. Okay, so this is the first picture that came up. Okay, so here are the kids. There's no Daniel Perez. This is then you zoom into the back. That's Daniel. That is Mamash Daniel. It's like this, I was taking a picture of other kids. But he was like, I'll be in the picture on my terms. Thank you. This is Gabi Rod, who celebrated his wedding in Israel a few days ago. Yeah. There's Daniel over there. And then this is after the skating. He was always, there's that picture. Yeah, there he is. He's laughing at me getting pulled into the pool over there. He's just a beautiful, beautiful boy. His hair was always perfect. His dad spoke about yesterday. One of his best friends was a hairdresser. So he used to get a haircut every time he came out of the army. And then he was always like a level up, always with kids older. So these kids are all older than him. But he would hang out with them. That's him there. All playing cricket at Yeshiva College. This sweet, sweet boy. And then again, this is grade 6 tour. So there's Abiel, we're just having for him to be safe. And there's Daniel at the top. Coolest kid around. They're playing soccer with the older kids. Okay. Thanks for the space, as always. Okay, let's do Misha Barach. Misha Barach אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב יברך את חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל ואנשי כוחות הביטחון העומדים במשמר צבא אלוהינו מגבולה לבנון ואביבה מצרים מן הים הגדול עד לבוא ערבה בכל מקום שהם ביבשה ואוויר ובים. תן אדוני תבינו, כי מעלינו גרים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל חללים מכל צרה וצוקה ותמותן גם והחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם. יבשם תחתם ידכם אחרי תשעה ותראה ניצחון וקיים בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולכים לכם ומוביל להושיעתכם ונאמר אמן.
Amen.
Amen.
It's for the Shvuyim, and Daniel's body is still in Gaza, and he's going to be returned home soon to have a full burial. And for all of the Chatzufim, I just saw a very powerful video now of all the people connected to the Chatzufim and saying on Tanit Esther will fast as well. They're not necessarily religious, but when the nation was facing absolute destruction, today was the day that we were mitached in Tzom. We were united in Tzom. I guess it's also connected a little bit to Vayikra, right? It's like on every other day, people are very different. You can tell that they're different by what they eat, right? And how much they eat and when they eat and what they eat. But when it comes to the fast day is the ultimate equalizer, right? And we all feel hungry in the same way. We're all eating the same thing today, which is nothing. And difficult to even contemplate what these hostages are going through, what their eating conditions are. So we should just dive in for them with extra kavanah, and that Mesirat Nefesh in fasting today should be for Hatzalat Nefashot for them. B'Shlemut u'Bekarov. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב יוסף משה ואהרון דוד ושלמה יברך וישמור בנצור את נדרי צבא הגנה של ושבוייו ואת כל אחינו הנתונים בצרה ובשביה בעבור של כל הקהל. אז זה מתפלל בעבורם, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא רחמים עליהם יוציאם יחושם בצער מוות משרותיהם ינתק מצוקותיהם יושיעם ושיבם מראה לחק משפחותיהם יודו לאדוני חסדו ונכלותיו לבני אדם ויקוים בהם מקרא שגעתו ובגדולי אדוני ישובונו בהר ציון ברינה ושמחת עולם האור שם ששון ושמחה ישיגו ונעשייה גויים מלאכה ונאמר אמן. I've said before, I always found it strange to talk about this like Sason v'simcha yasigu, at the end, but that's what we're davening for. I do my Torah v'simcha, Sason v'ikar on Purim, and Am Yisrael faced terrible places of destruction before, and this was turned down into Sason v'simcha, turned into. So please God, these we should have a nafochu in our times, because we certainly need it, and people should be redeemed, holy people. All the times we said Daniel Shimon ben Sharon exactly in this tefillah, it should be for tefillah for his body to be returned, and a shlichut for all the hostages. There's also Matan Shachar ben Anat. So yesterday when I was at the Shiva, this was the driver of the tank that Daniel scouted and recruited into his tank. And there was a sign of life from a hostage that was released, saw him, and he said he believes he was the only person to survive from his tank. He was captured from the tank. So Matan Shachar ben Anat, this should be for his shvut. So his mom spoke yesterday in the Shiva, and she said she spoke about what she a little bit like what Daniel meant to Matan. Matan was so grateful when he joined Daniel's team. He said he's coming close in April. He's supposed to be mishtachrer. He should be mishtachrer sooner. He said that he's so close coming towards the end of his service that he's serving in Daniel's tank, just because of Daniel had ethics and values and superb. Like they never ever trained enough. Like an ethic in their family of sports people, the Perezs, that if you Rabbi Perez said yesterday, if you practice hard, he practices the most will do the best on the day. So if you treat your practices as if they're matches, then you'll succeed. Rabbi Perez is a supremely talented cricketer. He talks about how his life went from, he's got his chef, his life went from Jimmy Cook to Rav Cook. Jimmy Cook was a famous South African cricketer. Then he went to Rav Cook. So obviously I connected with Rabbi Perez on that level as well, with all the Torah Rav Cook that we learned. So Daniel was like these tremendous ethics, and supremely talented sports person and dedicated to fitness. He said Matan would say to his parents, how the running would kill him, but he knows that they'd be better for it. And ultimately, if there was one tank with one team that was there on the border, blocking this artery to more Jewish families and Jewish homes, because this team of Tank Perez that just performs tremendous acts of gvurah. So in their shlichut, what Anat, Matan's mother, said yesterday, she said she knows that Matan, as a hostage now, will get strength from the pride that he had for how they acted in that day, and Bishkut Daniel's leadership as the tank commander. Please God, he should come soon.
And they say Shema Israel today at 5?
Yeah.
5:30.
5:30?
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
30 worldwide.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, I think there's something more here. Let's do it for the Petsuim. Misha Baruch Hu Rabbi Tzach Yaakov Tzara Vayikra Rachav Aliyah Moshe Aaron Shlomo Yivarech V'Yirpei Kol P'tzuei Chalei Tzavah Gnei Shel Kol B'Tachon V'Yizrachim B'Abu Shatzibuk V'Lo Mipalel Lama Hanam B'Smicha Zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimanach V'Malei V'Lach L'Imam V'Dorach Otam V'Lachzikam Lach Yotam Yishlach Lehem Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat Tzaddik V'Shufat Agam L'Chol Evrem L'Chol G'dei B'Toch Shach L'Ei Shor Refuah Krova Lavo Atama Galav Zman Karim V'Nomar Amen. Let's do Chaynu. Okay, let's have Chaynu together. Chaynu Kol Beit Shel Ntunim B'Tzara B'Shiv Ya'amdim Ben V'Yam V'Yam V'Yamasha Abakum Yirachim Alev Yotzei Mitzal Divacham V'Pein L'Or M'Shibud V'Geulah V'Ashtabak Galav Zman Karim V'Nomar Amen. Amen. Okay, thanks all for sharing in the space, and please God, we should I don't know, Hashem should find a way to help us with this pain, help the Perezs with their pain, and this would be such a massive gvurah tomorrow or this evening or even in the next few hours that somehow all of this makes some sense, and we can be overwhelmed by the joy of seeing the hostages come home, of seeing a Beit HaMikdash being rebuilt, and all of us dancing together in Yerushalayim. Should turn pain from miyagon l'simcha, mi'evel liyom tov. Thanks everybody. Have a good day and a safe, meaningful fast. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.